And we have with us Marvin Lee, who is our district controller. Marvin, take it away.
Thank you, Rhonda. So I'm going to actually hand it off to Craig Hanacek, who's been spearheading this project. So Craig, if you could start, that'd be great.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for taking time out of your day to join us in this discussion of the 8201 project. First, we're going to go through with the architect what the plans are for the layout in a short PowerPoint presentation. And then followed that, we'll address some of the questions that we've received and then open it up for a general Q&A. So Kevin, if you would open that up to the PowerPoint. All right. Kevin, do you want to start the discussion about the building, or would you like to hand it off to me at this point?
I'm sorry, Craig, I was muted. I'll take it. I was talking
right.
and nobody was answering me, and sorry about that.
Not a problem.
Okay, everyone can see the PowerPoint in my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So I'll just begin and talk about two major components that I'm sure everyone is aware is on the site right now that will be leaving the site. Very big improvements, I believe, to the entire community. And the first one you've already started to see some movement on. I think you've seen the automobiles that have left the automobile repair garage. The intention of this project is that that service station, the building itself, the tenant who occupied it, and all the paving associated with it will be removed from the site. And what the district intends to do as part of this project is to replace that with either a green lawn or possibly what we refer to as a rain garden. And a rain garden, you can kind of see a little image of it in the lower left. It would just be some plantings that basically absorbed rainwater, infiltrated back into the ground. But the intention is that something that right now is quite frankly a bit of an eyesore on this site will basically be turned into something green, something nice, some trees to screen the parking areas, but a real improvement to Lansdowne Avenue. And the second function that would be removed from this site is the sanitation department. And obviously anyone who's familiar with this site or lives around this site is very familiar with the operation that's there. There's actually 24 trucks that are circulating on and off this site, but that represents 124 trips because these trucks go out, they pick up, they come back, they drop off their helpers, and then they go and they dump their contents, and they come back again, they pick up their helpers. So there's 124 times that these trucks are going on and off this site. When the trucks go away, obviously the trips go away. When the trucks go away, the odors from the trucks go away as well. Now, I do want to point out, and there may be some update on this as of today, but as far as I understand, there was still an agreement with the township that these trucks would refuel on this site. Is that, I'm not sure exactly where we stand, but I guess there's still a possibility.
That's correct.
The trucks would refuel, but that would be limited to 12 trucks a day. So 12 trucks refueling as opposed to 24 going on and off the site all day. So a huge improvement to the quality of life around this site. Reduction of noise, odors, debris, and the truck traffic as this function leaves the site. So in the development of this, we talked about the two components that are leaving, the auto repair business and the sanitation department. The function that's coming to the site is the district administration offices. So these are the superintendent, the business manager, the curriculum, human resources. It's the people that basically keep the school district functioning. It's many of the people that are on this PowerPoint conversation tonight that are here from the district. And what that means is what we refer to as the north lot, which would be, as you look at this drawing that's up on your screen, it would be what's above the building. We would introduce a new visitor parking lot there. So this would be the place where the administrators would park. It would be the place that visitors would park. There would be a new site access. It's labeled as new site entry off of Lansdowne Avenue. There would be a new public entrance into the building, and you can see where that's marked on the north side of the building. In addition, there's a baseball field in the back of the site. Right now, if you're going to access that baseball field, you have to go through the bus area past the sanitation yard. What would actually happen as part of this project is that there would be a new access point directly off the north parking lot. Now, I should also point out that baseball field is on district-owned property, but the district does not actually play any games there. It's actually a community baseball field, and I'm not even sure how much it's used, but it would remain as a township asset, but now with much cleaner access and some support parking. And the baseball field would not be used during business hours. This is really an after-hour type of thing, weekend use, perhaps evenings, but not an intense day-to-day, all-day type of operation. On the south lot, you can see we have school buses and bus driver parking. We have the school district's maintenance trucks, all the things that are on that site right now. So there's nothing that's being added to this. There's no buses that are being added. These are the buses that are there now. So it's essentially a continuation of the use that's there. We are providing more bus driver parking as part of this new layout. In the middle of the plan, and if you can see my cursor, I'll point it out, there's two dumpsters located right here. And of course, dumpsters might be a small part of a site plan, but they're a major part of the environment that we're creating. We don't want to put the dumpsters near the property line. We've made the decision to put them dead center in the property. So they're 200 feet away from any of the property lines. We have landscape buffers, and across the southern property line right now, there are some sporadic trees. There is a buffer across there. We're enhancing that. As part of this project, we'll be putting in more planting across that row to make a better landscape buffer. We are also adding a 10-foot buffer along Lansdowne Avenue to again buffer the parking and provide a little bit more screening. You'll notice that what is currently a big asphalt island, we've introduced a series of landscape islands. So these will be small green islands here with trees. Their purpose is to get a little bit of greenery within that asphalt parking lot, but also to be able to plant trees, to be able to screen the parking lot areas, to be able to screen the buses. It is a secure lot and it's screened with fencing across the front. Still talking to the township a little bit about that type of fencing, but it may wind up being an ornamental fence, which they've asked us to introduce onto the project. There is a refueling station on the site right now. It's located right in this location. As part of this project, this refueling station goes away and we add 2 refueling stations here. We've been very careful to make sure that we have enough stacking space. We've calculated the use of these 2 refueling stations, the number of buses and the number of trucks that need to access it. Again, we've added the second pump and we've made sure that the vehicles that are going to access those fuel pumps will not back out onto Lansdowne Avenue. And the township was very adamant about working with us and making sure that we had the right stacking space and we had the right numbers. And then just a note about site lighting. Right now, what you'll find out on the site is there is site lighting, poles that are introduced around the parking lot areas, but they do not have any cutoff. You can stare right at the glare source. Obviously, this is not the modern way that we light parking lots. As part of this project, all the existing lighting comes out. New lighting goes in. Township has been adamant about making sure that the light cuts off at the property line so that there's no spillage onto the neighboring properties. And the fixtures that are selected all have a glare cutoff. So when you look up at the fixture, you should not see that hot source. You should not see that glow. I mean, obviously you'll see the light as it lays across trees, but you won't get that glare because these are modern fixtures with appropriate cutoff. And then there's just the basic improvement to the building. And, you know, I think if I was going to describe the facility as it stands right now, it's worn. But as part of this project, when we bring the administration here, it will be a complete modernization of the building. So all the brick will be repointed. It'll all be made to look new again. All the windows are replaced as part of the project. Right now, there's very little insulation in the walls, very little insulation in the roofs. The entire building is getting a new insulated envelope, so it'll be more energy efficient. I pointed out before that from Lansdowne Avenue, there's a new sidewalk that approaches to a building entrance. That gives you pedestrian access both to the building and also to the ball field. And you can see the beginning, if you look at the new image, the new parking area would be just off here to the left. And you can't quite see it from this image, but again, there's landscape islands introduced here to again begin to screen those parking lot areas. And sustainable design elements. I already talked about the building envelope being improved. All the lighting through the building and all the lighting through the site will be LED, energy efficient lighting. There's bicycle parking being introduced. And there's stormwater management on this site for the first time. Right now, whatever rain falls onto the site basically goes straight into the municipal system. We're still working through the details of the project, but at least a portion of the site will now be managed, which means instead of running directly into the municipal system, it'll be stopped, it'll be retained, it'll either be infiltrated back into the ground or it'll be metered out slowly so that it doesn't overwhelm the municipal system. So that's a very quick overview of what the project entails. I think from my perspective and from the district's perspective, there's a lot of good things happening here, a lot of improvements to the site. And I think with that, Craig, I can turn it back over to you, but I think we're ready to entertain any questions that anybody has.
Thank you, Kevin. A gentleman in the area was kind enough to submit some questions in advance, and I would guess that some of these questions are probably pertinent to a lot of the listeners. So I'm just going to go ahead and address some of these, and maybe that'll allow us to have some more time to address any of the other issues that came up. There was one question about the boundary fence and a desire not to have that because they didn't feel as though vandalism was an issue. Vandalism is not a large issue, but obviously it is a problem. We did have several buses damaged previously that amounted to several thousands of dollars. But the other purpose is to keep people out of the property. Just recently, a man wandered onto the property, I believe yesterday, in his pajamas and surprised one of the bus attendants. The police weren't able to get there in time, and the man had wandered off. But in today's day and age, it's a little surprising to have someone, wandering onto a property. And we want to keep our drivers safe, as well as the public at large. The bus lot is an extremely dangerous place. These buses are 4 times the size of a pedestrian or a passenger vehicle, and navigating around in the bus area is a tricky business. All these drivers are licensed professionals, know how to handle these buses, but we also don't traverse through the lot when the buses are actually on the move, because as I said before, it's very dangerous. The other item that he had was moving the buses further away from the property lines. Right now, they're just up against the property lines for the people on the adjacent lots, and we've addressed that, as you can see from this photo. The larger diesel-powered buses, the buses that start up early in the mornings and things like that, they're all located to the interior of the lot, as you can see the cursor circling there. The smaller buses that still remain at the perimeter, those are our minivan buses. They're gasoline powered. They don't require any warm up or anything else like that. They'll pretty much just pull off as soon as they're started. The other issue is buses reversing. Another complaint that came up was the reversing noise that you hear early in the mornings. And I can imagine that can be quite disturbing. So what we're going to do is the buses in the future will all be, and this is the larger buses as well as the small, will be reversing into their spaces in the afternoon and evenings when they return from their runs. So in the morning when they start off, they should simply be able to go forward rather than backwards and depart for their runs or the fueling station or whatever other activity that they have to get into. Another item was parking. Apparently some drivers are parking on the adjacent streets throughout the neighborhood. As the architect had indicated earlier, we've allowed 93 spaces. We have additional overflow space in the north lot, and we don't even have 93 drivers really at this point in time. So we've covered that more than sufficiently. So we don't imagine that there'll be any overflow. The other thing about a fence is if it's up, people won't try to navigate from the adjoining neighborhoods onto the lot. Another question was air pollution. 95% of the bus fleet's been replaced with low emission engines that contribute significantly reduced amounts of CO2, nitrogen to the surrounding atmosphere. The buses also use a special additive that reduces the exhaust gas and makes it a more neutral, shall we say, airflow when it comes out of the bus. And all these buses are equipped with sensors so that in the event that that fluid drops below a certain level, the bus can't move until the fluid's replenished. So that ensures that the buses are operating at the peak level of efficiency and then also at a minimum amount of emissions. The number of buses, too, is constantly being reduced as the district's construction projects are completed or come online. What we're doing is putting schools out in locations that presently are underserved. And each time we do that, we reduce the number of buses required and convert those users to walkers because they're in a closer proximity to the school that's serving them. As the architect mentioned earlier, trip generation by the sanitation department is going to go down dramatically. So that's also going to reduce the times on and off, idling with on the site, and the other issues that come with the sanitation department that are not necessarily the most desirable. The other location or the other issue is greening of the lot. We're actually reducing the amount of hard surface on this lot by a significant amount. That aids in lowering the temperature of the surrounding environment, and it provides a more pleasant area in which to commune with nature or what have you. The existing plan, if we can flip back to the last slide, shows you the current conditions. That entire garage service station area, all the concrete, the building, will be returned with the exception of one driveway to an entire green space along Lansdowne Avenue, improving not only the aesthetic, but also the quality of the environment. I think that addresses most of the questions, if not all the questions that we received. And now I'd like to just open it up for general questions.
Okay, Craig, we have two in the chat.
Okay.
Ron Ashford, the question reads, was widening Lansdowne Avenue ever considered? This street is heavily congested at rush.
Well, unfortunately, this is a PennDOT right-of-way, and PennDOT actually doesn't really take direction from us. They give us their directions. There is an ADA curb line modification that's slated to go in, and we're working in conjunction with them on that part of the project. But so far as changing the path of the width of the right-of-way, that's something that we don't control. That would be, again, a PennDOT issue.
Okay, Craig, our next question is from Jean Grimaldi. It reads, is there any way the buses can enter and leave from the Bond Avenue entrance? Unless the avenue is widened, the same backups will occur.
That's a great question. There's a couple issues with them entering and leaving from the north lot. One, there's not sufficient capacity to house the buses up there. Two, PennDOT won't allow us to use that as the bus entrance and exit. And three, I think I know what the next question is. They're concerned about possibly relocating the light or adding an additional light. We've reviewed that with PennDOT. We've reviewed a flasher and a couple other items. They just really aren't willing to consider those items at this point in time.
Okay, we have another question from Jerron Ashford. When will construction begin, and how will Lansdowne Avenue be impacted? There
should be, very fortunately, virtually no impacts to the traffic on Lansdowne Avenue. The site is large enough where we'll be able to house all equipment, material, and products on the site, even the additional soils that have to be added and removed throughout the course of the construction. So we don't anticipate impacts to Lansdowne Avenue. Contractors are going to be arriving early in the morning between 6 and 7 and departing at 3, which leaves them off of the main traffic times. We anticipate construction starting in the later part of the summer and running approximately 12 months until all the green work and everything is complete and wrapped up and they're off the site.
I have a question from Lillian Owens. What type of fence are you thinking of installing? The last time it was a 10-foot chain link fence, which none of us wants.
Okay. Well, we're working with the township, as the architect had mentioned earlier, and they've suggested something a little bit more, let's say, visually not impactful. So that's an item that we'll be happy to, take comments on. We're looking for something a little bit more attractive than the chain link fence that's commonly used in these types of buildings. But that hasn't been settled.
Okay. Question from Ed and Laura Hart. Curious where the sanitation facilities will be relocated.
I have no idea, unfortunately. They don't share that with me.
Lillian Owens asks, were the buses that were damaged parked behind St. Anthony Lane?
What damage? Oh, the vandalism. Yes.
There
was a number of buses. Actually, they pretty much went through the entire lot. And I don't know if there was any rhyme or reason to the smashed windows or not, but it was quite a bit of damage. It was really unfortunate.
Marvin, I see you want to say something. You want to chime in?
I want to say something?
Did you want to say something? I know your face.
No.
Okay,
No.
good. Okay, so there are no more questions in the chat.
Yes, there is.
Oh, okay.
I'd like to say something.
Just about to open it up, Mr. Alpidi,
Right.
to anyone who would like to unmute. So go right ahead, sir.
Okay. I want to talk about the fence that you're going to be putting up on the south side.
Yes, sir.
The problem that I see is this, that if you put a stationary fence up there, how is the fire department, police department, and EMS is going to service the back of our houses? In case there's a fire in my house, which is on at 631 St. Anthony Lane, I would have a hard time getting out of the house, the fence in back of me. And what's going to happen is that I will turn into toast. I can't get out. You have no exits for people who live in inside of the row. There has to be an exit so that we can get out in case of fire, in case of emergency. Most recently, my wife broke her hip and the EMS came through the back and they took her to the hospital through the back. That service will not be available to me anymore with a stationary fence there. All of the things that would be necessary for homeowners to have at their access will be gone again. The township took that away in the very beginning when they started, when they moved in to the facility. I don't want that repeated. I want to have people, I want the police to be able to come in my back, the fire trucks come in my back, and EMS come in my back.
If I could, the township did ask us to coordinate activities with the fire chief, and we are in dialogue with them right now. I would think that there would be, and there always is, the fire department needs access to the site. So where we do have gates, and you can see at the existing site entry, there's a gate marked to the south lot. The fire department EMS will have access to get in there, as they will have access to the gates to get around the back of the existing facility.
If you put a fence up, there is no access. If you put a fence up, there is no access.
So I think when we are working with the fire chief, I'll bring that up with him. We'll talk about that issue.
Are we going to have another opportunity in order to see what's happening? Because to me, that's one of the most important things. And that is that we should not have a fence.
I will bring that up with the fire chief.
Not only that, but I wouldn't be able to take my lawnmower and bring it to the front of the house for me to mow the lawn in front of the house. Because the lawnmower is in the back of my yard. And how am I going to do that?
Well,
The fence, the homes themselves, if you will, are a line of fences that protect your property. I don't believe you need another fence there to limit access and to put the people in jeopardy. If there's a fire, we're gone. We're gone. Because I can't move around the way I did 20 years ago, and my wife can't move around.
you've raised some good points. And I think that we will bring these up with the fire chief. And I think that they are the final authority for life safety issues within this community. And I will absolutely bring these topics up for their consideration. We'll work directly with them. We'll work directly with the township. These are good points. We'll certainly take this into account.
Thank you, Mr. Altapedi. So let me just remind everybody, you have an opportunity to unmute, but let's all be respectful and hear out the entire answer and try not to cut each other off, because we want everyone to hear what is being said and everyone to have the opportunity to ask as many questions as possible within this hour. So it looks like someone else has written a question and I'm trying to get to it. It's from Lillian Owens again. It says, we heard there will be a 10-foot buffer behind our house before the fence. Who will maintain it?
The school district will maintain that. That's school district property.
Ms. Buford,
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry, can I say something as well?
No, Superintendent Dr. McGarry.
Yeah, I just wanted to also add, I know that Mr. Altapedi asked a question, and tonight is really an example of our making sure that the community is aware of the project before it's officially approved. Obviously, if there are adjustments that need to be made that are conducive and supportive of the community, we will certainly work with the township and the community members to make what improvements that we can, that we're allowed to within reason to this project. So this is not the final look at this. And so our team will take back some of these comments and try to address some of these concerns as well.
Okay, anyone else would like to unmute? Feel free. Any more questions?
This is Altapedi again.
All right, ahead.
Very concerned with that fence. Please be assured that we can get out and of our house without being burned,
Understood.
and EMS being there as well.
Okay, I think our next steps regarding that was to take it back to the fire department for their ultimate decisioning around fire safety.
These drawings have been submitted to the fire marshal, and he is currently reviewing them, and we'll fold these comments back into the other comments we've already asked him to address. But thank you for your questions.
We have a question from Susan Hudson. What is the quote unquote access for adjacent properties on the south side lot where the fence will be installed?
Oh, well, that's a good question. We routinely get asked by neighbors that have tree trimming services coming out or stump removals, service for their air conditioners. When anyone needs to get onto our property, we just need about 24 hours notice. We can move the cars, buses, what have you, out of the way so your service technicians or maintenance people can get in through our lot to access the back of yours. And we're just a phone call away.
How are you going to do that, Dave? How? Excuse me.
You're perfectly welcome, sir.
This is Altapedi again. How are you going to do that? If you have a permanent fence there, how?
We have various gates through the fence.
you're going to have openings?
Correct. We have openings now.
Well, we'll have to see what's going to happen because of the fact that for deliveries and so forth, can we have our deliveries? If we talk to any superintendent or somebody in the building to we'll tell you ahead of time so that they could bring washers, dryers, air conditioners, and so forth into our houses as well.
Certainly. That's not an issue. We talk to some of your neighbors routinely. Just last summer, a gentleman asked about having the air conditioning mechanics come in through our yard and access his equipment. It's not a problem at all. We're happy to do it.
Okay, so in other words, there has to be an access to the on that fence somewhere along the line.
Certainly.
Okay.
We're not going to be interested in cutting your grass, though.
Yeah.
Hi, this is Nancy. I would appreciate not having a chain link fence along the border between the houses and the bus lot.
Especially not 110-foot or anything like that. I mean, we don't want to look out back and seem like we're in prison.
Right.
It's, you know,
Just
that's
something-
just not right. It would be like when if the school bus drivers moved in and we said, well, we want a fence because we don't want you near the back of our house. I mean, it's almost insulting that you're going to fence us in when we've not done anything to damage any property back there. I just don't understand.
And if the
If you're
fence,
having security 24/7, why do you need a fence?
yeah, it's,
The township has asked that we run that ornamental fence all the way down the south property line. And we'll see what we can do to try to not keep it at 10 feet. I think we're talking about 8 feet right now. We'll try to make it a little bit more attractive, but obviously the district is in charge of protecting hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of equipment. So I guess we're looking for somewhat of a balance. We're trying to keep that safety and security in place, but still make an attractive edge of the property to the greatest extent possible.
yeah, if you can make it as aesthetically appealing as possible, we would appreciate it.
I want you to know your township has pushed very hard for that already. They've already sort of laid that out for us, and we've talked a lot about that fence line and trying to make it as soft and as attractive as we can.
I know that you said
I apologize. You'll need to unmute yourself again.
okay. You talked about this is just an introductory meeting to talk about this. When they decided that they were going to sell the property across the street from us in the front to the dialysis unit, we had to go and see plans and report, to the township to really review everything. Are we going to have the same opportunity? Or is this just going to be Zoom meetings?
Yes.
Okay.
How do you like the dialysis unit?
We would like it better if they would take care of their property.
Right.
Their grass is
growing.
now up to my hip. I mean,
Yeah.
it looks terrible. There's trash thrown around.
Terrible.
We were told we'd never hear a sound over there, but the people that come and empty the dumpsters, and since you're gonna have them, maybe you can do the same thing for us, but we don't really appreciate having the dumpsters being empty between 5 and 6 o'clock in the morning because it sounds like a bomb going off when they bounce them around to empty them. It's right outside our bedroom windows.
Well, the landscape department is part of the facilities department, and they actually work out of this building. So believe me, this is going to be the first place to have its grass cut.
Well, we would appreciate the property being kept. We've always had a good relationship with everybody back there. I mean, my father worked back there for years. Right out the back, he would go straight out the back basement door of our house and right across into the parking lot and get on the bus and go. So we've always had a good relationship. We have a good relationship with the bus drivers that park on our street. We talk to them all the time.
Yes.
So it's just, disturbing that now we feel like we are going to be fenced in for some reason because administrative offices are coming. It's just almost, well, I don't want to say insulting, but we never had it for the bus drivers, but now that administration's coming, we have to have.
Well, actually, the administrative lot is not fenced at all. That's open for public parking 24/7. So people can access the ball field now. You won't have people entering that south lot as they did previously and, causing issues and things like that. They'll only be on the north lot of the property. So no one will be able to come up to your property late in the evening or after hours.
And there will be additional trees put in on the.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes. Kevin, off the top of your head, do you know about how many trees we're adding? Kevin, you're on mute.
Let me look at the landscape plan. I don't off the top of my head, but I'll see if I can look that up real quick.
Yeah, it's a significant amount of trees. And we're also going to be doing some shrub planting as well. And then the rain garden is going to have a variety of various plantings too.
I'm sorry, but we currently have fencing, or not fencing, but trees behind our house. Are they going to remove those and put new ones in, or are these you're talking about in addition to?
A little bit of both. Some of the existing trees will have to come down, and some of them are in need of a little bit of care. So some will remain, the ones we can salvage, obviously, because they will be a larger diameter than what we're putting in initially. But these will be larger deciduous trees or grow into larger deciduous trees. And there'll also be some evergreens as well.
Will they be large enough to cover like our view of the fence?
I can't say off the top of my head.
All
It
right.
depends on the type of tree, and the deciduous tree, obviously, there'll be no leaves in the wintertime.
Okay.
This is Al Altapedi again. With respect to trees, first time that you did this was I moved in 1998. And what happened was that township put the trees right in the openings where the door is of the fence. When the people on St. Anthony Lane, they all had fences up. And where you didn't put a cyclone fence, you put a tree that blocked the opening in the fence. In other words, the door was useless. When I moved in, I moved my door over so I could have access. I hope that doesn't take place again. What you did in that time, you again, because of fire, I'm very uptight about that. You gave the people no way of escaping with a cyclone fence and then blocking up their only exit with a tree in front of their door on their fences.
So I
Don't let that happen again.
So I appreciate that comment, and I'm probably the guy responsible to make sure no trees getting planted in front of gates. So I would be hugely embarrassed if I drop that ball. I will personally make sure that we coordinate the gates and the trees. To answer the previous question about the landscaping across here, we're obviously keeping the existing trees in place. There's 22 trees right now being proposed for the edge that I'm indicating with my cursor. That would be as a supplement to what's there now.
I see another question in the chat, and I think you've already addressed it, but I'll ask it again by Ed and Laura Hart. Will existing buffer trees on the south side remain? We hope so.
Some trees will need to be removed because they're in poor condition or they're in areas that are going to be receiving paving. And we'll be replacing those with trees that are along the new greened areas.
So you missed your compliment I was about to give you from Ed and Laura Hart. They said, thank you for making our neighborhood greener.
You're welcome. It's our pleasure.
Anyone else?
Out the PD again.
Go ahead, sir.
With respect to our cutting the lawn in the front. In other words, we're going to be taking our lawnmower. Will there be, and there should be an access so that we could take our lawnmower through the back fences and then bring it around, and then so we can cut the front of our houses as well. The last time I said that, I think that what was being stated was that they're going to look into this with respect to the fire department. Well, this has nothing to do with the fire department on this one. This is just so that we have access to bring the lawnmower around so we can cut the front of our lawns.
Well, we'll certainly take a look and see what we can do to try to accommodate that.
Okay.
Even if it's a fence that we have, maybe one fence somewhere that we have access to get through. Because the school bus yard has been very accommodating for us if, we need to go from the back to the front to go through their parking lot. We've never had an issue with that.
Right. Well, there'll be a motorized gate now on the parking lot.
Dr. McGarry, can you speak to us all about how this facilities project impacts student enrollment in certain schools?
Yes, and I wanted to, I appreciate the hard work of Kevin and Craig Harnachek and Marvin Lee and Craig Rogers on this team. I know we have some board members joining us as well. And Mr. Altapedi, I appreciate your concerns, and to the Hart family, and I think Ms. Hudson, Ms. Owens, I appreciate it. We're trying to just make improvements to the community overall. So first, hopefully you will agree, and maybe Kevin at some point can provide some examples of how this is a drastic improvement. I think Craig Harnachek mentioned that this is going to be a significant improvement to what we consider, not the most attractive facility in your backyard and on Lansdowne Avenue. So the improvements that we're going to make are going to be an improvement to that area and to your community without question, as far as the landscaping is concerned, as far as the green space is concerned, as far as the overall aesthetics of the building are concerned. It's going to be a much better looking facility coming down Lansdowne Avenue, which I think hopefully we'd all agree is something we want to have. As far as the need to have this happen, we were trying to make creative use of space that we currently have to make sure that our students, the most important part of our community as educators, that we're addressing their needs. And so right now I'm actually standing in my office at the Abatement School where administration cohabitates with the Abatement Elementary School students. And in some ways it's not the best environment as far as safety is concerned, because folks are coming to visit administrators and there's meetings, and there's also elementary school classrooms right there on the first room and on the entrance to the school. And we have overcrowded buildings. So it's a twofold issue. We need to get out of here to make better use of the space at Abatement to allow us to redistrict students and ease overcrowding. And this is a key area. Abatement Elementary School is going to be renovated and expanded so that it can receive more students. And then we can reduce travel time and costs that the taxpayers are paying to have students attend schools in leased facilities outside of this community. I hope that you're aware by now that Upper Darby is so overcrowded in its schools that we actually lease two what were once parochial schools, one in the community, the former St. Charles School that's now Charles Kelly Elementary School, and another school in Glen Olden that's 20 to 40 minutes, depending on the time of the day, one way outside of the community. And so this is a step, one of many steps that we have to make to try to ease overcrowding in our elementary schools and make better use of space that we have and improving this current location. So this will function not only as a transportation facility, but central office staff will be moved from Aronimink Elementary School to this location so that we can make better use of this space so that students can have better learning opportunities here in the school district. So this is a vital part of a much larger project and process that we have here to improve the facilities in the school district, which by that process improves home values and improves the overall community.
So Dr. McGarry, if I may, and Mr. Gottschall, the blueprint looks wonderful and we're thrilled to see this. And yeah, we're truly appreciative of the green space and the new trees and everything. I don't think anybody that's on this call would argue that fact. We're just more concerned, for me, with this fence. But that's it. I mean, I think this looks amazing. And the changes that Mr. Gottschall was talking about with packing the buses in at night so that we don't have to hear that noise in the morning, having the, other buses that are leaving at 4 o'clock or 4:30 and waking everyone up, leaving from a different area. That's all wonderful. And we're truly appreciative of that, especially for people whose bedrooms are in the back. Yeah, but that's, like I said, for me, my only concern would be the fence. Everything else is great.
And I appreciate that. I want to say to you, if all of our projects, the folks came out and the only issue was addressing a fencing concern or maybe the access concerns that you're talking about, I'm fairly confident that we can address those concerns and come to an agreeable, happy resolution for those. Most of the times when we're trying to make improvements in the community, it has not gone as well as tonight. So I really appreciate your questions and your thoughtfulness, and we're going to make every effort to make this a mutually beneficial project. We certainly don't want to make your life any more of an inconvenience.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
Can I say one other thing, please? This is
Sure.
Altapedi again.
We know you by now. Yep.
What about the noise abatement? In other words, right now, they start the running buses and they get they pull the chain off the fence to open up the gates, and this is done near 4 o'clock in the morning. And we know that the buses, some will be idling for say an hour or two, and also with the backup and so forth on the noise abatement. With more buses coming in to the south lot, is that going to be increased? Or are we going to have more noise near 4 and 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the morning than we have presently?
We'll still be maintaining the same bus routes and things like that. The buses are going to be moving about 70 feet from the perimeter line, which I guess is along the back border of your house. So they'll physically be further than they are from you now. There'll be additional buffers that are probably going to try to arrest some of that sound, not all of it, but it is going to be a dramatic improvement. So far as idling, that's usually used in the winter months to heat up the buses so we don't have kids coming onto ice cold buses. That's pretty unpleasant.
The point being is that it almost makes the 2 back rooms that most of the houses have, they're not good for sleeping. In other words, if they start again, continue this as they have been, at 4 o'clock in the morning, people really, at least I don't want that. I would like to see some changes made with respect to abating the noise.
Well, the most direct way we can approach that is to physically move the buses in from the property line. And we've significantly moved them away from the adjacent houses along your street. Beyond that, there's really not too terribly much that we can do. The landscaping islands are going to pick up a little bit of that sound as well. You'll have the cars buffering that, which you don't presently have. So there is going to be some isolation.
We can talk about this later as well.
Certainly.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I have a quick question of the neighbors. How did the mailing work? Did you guys appreciate the mailings directly to this meeting?
Yeah, that was great. Thank you.
Good. This is easy. This is like the other ones we had to go door to door. We really appreciate you guys. Because people had the mailing and just didn't open it. So we appreciate that.
Rhonda, if you don't mind, I'm gonna close. Okay, thank you so much, Kevin and Craig, for great presentation and addressing the questions from the residents. We feel we're introducing really great features, attractive features to the community, and then by upgrading the building and the site. And we're very excited. Hope you have feel the same way about our project. This is not the final engagement. We're gonna continue the engagement throughout the project. And until we meet again, if you have any other questions, you can email us at capitalprojects@upperdarby.sd.org. capitalprojects@upperdarby.sd.org. Thank you, everybody's time. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
Thank
you
you,
all.
everyone.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming
Thank you.
tonight.
Thank you.
Ms. Grimaldi, are you still on? Okay, I get it. Okay, we can do that, Ms. Grimaldi. I'll do that next time.